morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 4 and episode number 417 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Cryo Media Network. Shoodoop, 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 shoodoop. Yeah. Today, recording day is Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024, and it's kind of a great day here at the Beaver Lodge, but it also looks like the sun is trying, so don't know exactly what we're going to get here. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and with me as always is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, and it's nice to have him here. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com, as well. Big thank you to Mademoiselle Fox, who dove in for a while and helped out immensely. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. The show is really much easier to do when we're at least two. But, Mr. Grizzly, normally I ask how your mental health is today, but how's your back today, too?
Back is better. It's far from 100%, but I'm able to function and I'll be able to get a work day in. So I'm happy about that because honestly, I don't think I could spend another day in the house. Like yesterday, it was beautiful out, right? And here I was stuck on the couch, on painkillers and ice packs. And it's necessary sometimes, but I don't enjoy being laid up like that. Some people do. I don't. I would rather be at work, being productive, being a good member of society, contributing to the economic engine that is Ontario.
So you must be feeling better.
A little bit, yeah. Medication just kicked in.
Drugs, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Not all drugs are bad, kids. No, kidding. Oh, man. All right. Doing well here. I have to say. Yesterday was a good day. There's been movement on everything that we have to do with insurance, and something that my Beaver sweetie wanted that it looked like he was being railroaded. I'm not sure if railroaded is the right term, but very deliberately guided towards one course of action, which was just scrapping the car.
Right.
And it says, yeah, but it's all the plastic in the front if the frame is still good.
There's no need to scrap it.
I want to know how much it will cost, to actually fix it before we scrapped it. And it just really looked like the car was going to go from the pound to Ottawa to be assessed for like how much they're going to give. And and that's it. So he managed to interrupt that process.
Okay.
So it's going to a body shop, approved body shop in the area. And so, yeah, maybe, and it seems that because I don't know anything, right? I don't have a license, so it seems that if it's going to be replaced, they, I guess, look in something called Blue Books. I think it is.
Blue book value.
Yeah, Blue Book value, and then they give you about 70% of that, I think, or something.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And it seems that his version of that car is like had all of the bells and whistles and everything, so that the value is actually higher than. So he is hoping that if the body shop gives an estimate approximate to what he would get, that he would probably like to keep this car because, well, it was his brother's. It was lovingly taken care of, and he knows where it's been. And, right. So, we'll see what happens. But Carol, you don't have to ditch the car. You always have a choice to repair instead of scrap. But in the incident, it seems that also the insurance company said that if my Beaver sweetie wanted to have the car towed home, he could have, and that they would have preferred that. But it seems that he was told that no, it absolutely did have to go to the pound. I don't know if I'm guessing there might be some circumstances where you want the car not in the custody of the person for any investigations. I assume that's when people get really hurt, whatnot. You don't want to, the chain of custody of the car becomes important, and you want people that will trust will deliver the car to where it needs to be evaluated, not having been touched. But it seems that in this case he might have been able to just bring it home directly, which is what he wanted at the onset, to not have to do the whole thing and having to go to the pound and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, we don't know. But the point is that he got what it is that he needed. He stopped the inevitable, let's just scrap it and give you money, make this go away thing. And they are actually dealing with the car.
Okay. Well, that's good.
That's good. That's good.
News.
Yeah, good news. So yesterday was a significantly lighter day, mood-wise, and in terms of mental stress and emotional swinging. Feeling good. Then having a wave, because that's often happens with an accident too. It sort of comes in waves, right?
Right.
So yesterday was a good day. So we're breathing a little easier here, and and thanks to everyone for all the good vibes as well. Okay, that's enough about us. Let's get to some news. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. The most important one being that there are elections in the UK tomorrow, and we will go to that. But I just wanted to give a little hurricane barrel update before we do that, because it is traveling relatively fast. It hit yesterday morning. I was hearing reports from Bridgetown in Barbados. It seemed to have, it started off as a Category 4, went down to Category 3, but when it hit there, it hit as a Category 5. Which again, the differences are academic, but in terms for a Category 5, I think I was reading somewhere that it is the earliest in a season that a Category 5 has hit.
Oh, yeah, I would assume so, yeah, because Category 5, it's July, right?
Right.
That's normally late August, early September into October. So, yeah, the season is shifting.
Yeah, exactly. I think there was a doctor, I'll probably have the quote somewhere, a researcher that was saying that the surface water is already as warm as it is normally in September. So at the end of the summer, with all the heat accumulated, we're starting this summer there.
Yeah, this is from Saucy Sea, which Beryl is doing things we only usually see happening in August.
Yeah.
It's true. This isn't good. This is bad news, man.
Oh, yeah. This is
bad news.
This is bad news. So, yeah, the hurricane hit in those islands that I was mentioning, the Windward Islands, a lot. And it's getting ready to go towards Jamaica. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness has declared the entire island a disaster zone already. Says that all relevant agencies are on high alert. He's warning Jamaicans to seek higher ground and shelter as Hurricane Beryl approaches. It has winds clocking up to 250 kilometers per hour.
Wow.
There will be a curfew in effect for Jamaica between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. on the island of Carriacou, which is one of the small islands of the nation of Grenada in the Windward Islands. The Grenada's prime minister had a tour of the island, and he said basically, quote, "To see this level of destruction, it is almost Armageddon-like." He says there's literally no vegetation left anywhere on the island of Carriacou. The mangroves are totally destroyed. The boats and marinas significantly damaged. There's almost complete destruction of the electrical grid system in Carriacou. It's Venezuela is also reporting severe damage in the wake of Hurricane Beryl. There have been at least 3 deaths blamed on the storm there. And I think 4 in the islands, at least so far, though they expect it to be much more because obviously they haven't gone around and verified everything yet. And the hurricane is now making its way to the coast of Mexico as well. So after Jamaica towards the coast of Mexico, and then I assume it starts traveling upwards somehow. So again, yes, to our kits and cubs in Atlantic Canada, we still don't have anybody saying where it is they expect it would hit here, or if it is going to hit here. But if there are preparations, in terms, water, candles.
Don't forget your storm chips.
Yeah, all the stuff that you might need. Please do. Make sure that you stock up because this one looks very, very scary.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. All right. So that's Hurricane Beryl. Now, the good part here. Yeah.
There's a good part.
No, not a good part in this. July 4th, of course, is Independence Day, and unfortunately, you see a whole bunch of tweets going around there, and one of them was the immunity decision ruined an otherwise good Steve Bannon is going to jail day. So, some tongue-in-cheek humor. But as we mentioned yesterday, the relationship between the government and the people in the United States has completely changed. The relationship between the 3 branches, which were distinct and co-equal, now one of the branches at least has been put out of the reach of the other 2, essentially. And one of the branches, when it comes to monitoring one of the other 2 branches, has basically surrendered its power.
Okay.
So one of the points I was making yesterday is with the Chevron deference decision, not defense decision, as I said yesterday. The 6 Republican justices of the Republican appointed, I should say, justices of the Supreme Court of the United States basically just took all power away from regulatory agencies.
Great.
So they did a power grab there, and then on the immunity decision basically said, the president is immune for, all constitutional acts, of course, that's okay.
They made him a king.
Yes, all official acts, but not unofficial acts. However, if you want to investigate an unofficial act, you can't bring any evidence as to the president's motive, and you can't bring any evidence gained from something he's done in official acts. So basically, you have these people that call themselves originalists have basically said that even though the Constitution says that a president can be tried or impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, they've just ruled that the president cannot commit a high crime or misdemeanor.
Yeah, so he can be charged with something that he can't commit.
So,
It's a bit of a funny loop there, isn't
so
it?
yeah. So we have a situation where the 6, again, Republican-appointed justices of the Supreme Court have basically confessed that they perjured themselves in their hearings because all the talk of president and love of the founding fathers, they basically have just overturned the founding fathers. So there was absolutely no universe in which Roe versus Wade was safe. They have literally replaced the founding fathers. The whole point of the United States was to get away from the king.
Yes. And they've just anointed the president king, which means, technically speaking, Joe Biden could have Trump removed from society, and there's nothing they could do about it.
Yes. So as I was telling Mademoiselle Fox, is they're relying on the fact that Joe Biden is such a good man that he won't use it. So they're literally mocking the American people. They're literally laughing in their faces.
Mhm.
Look what we're going to do. And you know how badly we're going to do it? We're actually going to give it to your guy first.
Yeah.
Let him be the first one to start the riot.
Wow. Strange days, man. Strange days indeed.
And then should Joe Biden not use it, and then should the other guy win, says, well, we gave you the chance to use it because if it was Mitch McConnell, he would frickin' use it, right?
Yeah.
And that's how he got one of those Supreme Court justices. All of a sudden, there was this rule that you couldn't nominate one within 1 year of your...
This is a good question from Linda. The only thing I'm wondering is, can he still be impeached and removed from office by the Congress, or does the Supreme Court decision only apply to criminal prosecution? I don't know. We'd need a constitutional lawyer, I think, a U.S. constitutional lawyer to tell us that, because I honestly can't answer that, but that's a very good question.
Yeah. So now we have a situation where anytime somebody wants to go after the president in a court of law, they must have to first prove that it was not an official act, and now the president has a presumption of immunity for official acts. So not even just a presumption of innocence, a presumption of immunity.
And Biden said, as Linda states here, Biden has already said he won't use these powers. And Biden delivered a speech about this the other day, saying how disturbing this is on how it is destructive to democracy and their sacred American democracy. They were look, like it or not, for about a century and a half, they were the beacon of democracy that shone around the world, like it or not. And some people tend to disagree, but no, it's a simple fact. They were the beacon of democracy for over a century. 2.5 centuries they've been around as a sovereign nation since 1776, when they had their Declaration of Independence and fought the Brits so that they could have their own nation. And it'll be, 250 years in 2 years' time. 2026 will be 250 years. And it looks like they couldn't make it to 250 without anointing themselves with a king.
Yeah.
They reversed everything. 248 years of progress, backtracked with one decision by the Supreme Court, because their guy, the guy who put them there, who isn't president, by the way, despite what many people seem to think and say. No, he's president. He's running things. Biden's just a figurehead. It's a disguise. It's JFK. It's I'm sure you've heard all the conspiracy theories by now. They're all, if I spouted stuff like that, my doctor would have me at the Royal Ottawa for serious examination. Anyway, their democracy has effectively been killed. The democratic processes that they fought for and many died for meant nothing. They've thrown it right out the window. It's a sad day. It's a sad day.
It really is. So, yeah, that's what's going on there as they get ready to celebrate, I guess, their first Independence Day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the bad news. The good news is that in the UK, the Conservatives there, after 14 years, are about to have a performance, if the polls are correct, similar to our Conservatives back, or Progressive Conservatives back in 1993.
Right.
They really look like they're going to be wiped off the map pretty significantly. And there's this thing going around the internet, Mr. Grizzly. I don't know if we're allowed to show this, because I think there's a person on the on Twitter or social media, I guess, that makes videos, and he's basically telling us what conservatives are like. And I wish I could find it off the top of my head. Oh, maybe it's on my personal account, not the. That's what it is. And I listened to it, and it's like, I thought that this was freaking brilliant, but I'm not sure whether or not this is the type of thing we could get dinged for.
I don't know.
So it's somebody who has a Twitter account. His name is Jonathan Pye, at Jonathan Pye News.
Oh, yes, I'm familiar with this guy.
So I'm thinking that he's similar to Brittle Star. So that we could show it.
He's a comedian in the UK.
Yes. So I'm thinking that we can show it.
Well, we'll show it, and if we get dinged, I just have to edit it out. That's all.
Okay.
That's all.
But listen to this. And the reason I want you to listen to this is because even though it applies to the situation in the UK, the things that he's talking about, in the Conservative Party of Canada, Melissa Landsman keeps on showing up on TV and telling us that she can't tell us what it is that they got in store for us until about 32 days before we vote.
Mm-hmm.
This may be why, because this is probably the agenda.
I would tend to think so. Let's have a look. This is. I have seen this. It's good. It's about almost 5 minutes. That gives me time to grab a coffee. Here we go.
As we look back at the last 14 years of Conservative rule. As we look back at this gaggle of obdurate, arrogant, stubborn, unrepentant, heartless, self-serving bunch of arseholes who have spent the last 14 years trying to keep their useless, megalomaniacal political party together while sleepwalking the country into a kitchen blender. 14 years, 5 prime ministers, 7 chancellors, 8 foreign secretaries, 13 culture secretaries, one of whom was Nadine Dorries, a woman so stupid she thinks Channel 4 is a brand of perfume. 8 Home Secretaries, including grinning exorcist doll Priti Patel, Sajid Javid, James Hilarious rape jokes cleverly, and far-right pin-up Suella Braverman. Twice! A woman who says multiculturalism has failed, even though her, Patel, Javid cleverly, Sunak, Kwarteng, Zahawi, Badenoch are proof that even if you do have brown skin, you too can become a vicious, festering, regressive, lying, greedy, nasty, eye-wateringly wealthy, but morally bankrupt cunt. No fewer than 16 housing ministers, which explains why the UK is the most difficult place to find a home in the developed world. In 2000, a home cost 4 times the average salary. Now it costs 8 times the average salary, and workers are 11 grand worse off a year after 15 years of almost completely unprecedented wage stagnation. We've gone from 29 billionaires to 177 billionaires, whilst the working classes endured crippling austerity. The highest taxes in 70 years, lowest corporate taxes in 50 years. The rich are richer and the poor are much poorer, and your average high street is boarded up. We've endured David Cameron's hubris, Theresa May's chaos, Boris Johnson's lies, and Liz Truss throwing £30 billion of your money down the shitter. 100 billion in lost trade due to Brexit, 40 billion in lost tax revenues due to Brexit, whilst our farmers and our fishermen were sold down the river. The worst trade deficit since records began, and our national debt is now at 3 trillion. Average student debt has gone from 5k to 50k. Homelessness has doubled. Child poverty has tripled. An energy crisis that has little to do with the war in Ukraine and more to do with unfettered capitalism and unbridled greed. Highest energy bills in Europe, with 6.7 million people currently living in fuel poverty. The party of law and order have overseen record backlogs in the Crown Court, delays of 5 years for rape cases, with rapists being spared jail because the prisons are full. Chronic shortages of judges on top of a narrative that says they're all enemies of the people. They sold off 600 police stations. They cut police numbers by 21,000, then increased police numbers by 20,000, which is not an increase in police numbers, no matter how many times they tell you it is. Highest train fares in Europe, lowest state pension in Europe, longest waiting lists in NHS history, a nation with rotting teeth and people being hospitalised with malnutrition and scurvy, billions of taxpayers' money wasted on PPE contracts for their rich mates, and they let the bodies pile high and kill tens of thousands of pensioners during the pandemic, and then they lied about it. They cut our armed forces, they closed and sold off our fire stations, they closed, then sold off our libraries, they didn't build those 40 new hospitals, and they forced councils into bankruptcy. They wasted billions on HS2. They voted to allow bankers to have unlimited bonuses. They allowed BP and Shell to steal our oil and gas reserves without paying taxes, whilst Norway, of course, went the other way and has a sovereign wealth fund of over 1.6 trillion. And record amounts of our tammies and turds are being churned into our rivers and oceans by our privatised water companies. Windrush, Grenfell, Partygate, Barnard Castle, 30p Lee, bullying, affairs, groping and rape and tractor porn and Chris Pincher and corruption and dirty deals and racist donors and lies and lies and lies. And yes, the pandemic didn't help and the war in Ukraine hasn't helped, but don't believe them when they tell you that that's the reason that you are poorer this week than you were last week, whilst Rishi Sunak is richer this week than he was last week. Rishi Sunak cut taxes on champagne on the same day he cut funding to rebuild schools, and he wants to bring back national service. What else are they going to bring back? Grandstand? Spam on the national health? Snickers going back to marathon? I look forward to voting these incompetent, hubristic grifters out, and I hope they spend a very long time in the wilderness and have a really good think about what they just did. Well, a trip down memory lane there with some highs and some lows from the last 14 years.
This stuff is always brilliant. Always brilliant. Well thought out, well spoken, dead bang on the money. Now we might get a copyright violation for that. I'll probably have to cut it out for future, but it was worth watching, I think.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's what I don't know when with skits.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Well, it is his product and it is on social media, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'll find out in like an hour. Like literally, I'll find out in an hour. They'll tell me.
Oh man. So yeah, they are going to vote on the 4th, and yeah, it's not going very well for Rishi Sunak specifically, and of course. Sir Keir Starmer, who is leading the Labour Party, as we mentioned in a previous note, he basically has wrestled the party back to the centre because under Jeremy Corbyn it took a hard step towards the left, and that led to a disastrous performance in the previous federal election. So we'll see what happens there. We'll have some stuff to report in a couple of days on that. But yeah, the vote will take place tomorrow in the UK. Let's see what else have we got here. There's a little bit of a development on the Goldie Gamari thing, it seems, because why is this doing this? This is really weird.
I don't know. I don't know what it's doing, so I really can't say.
Sorry, sorry. The computer was doing just a really weird thing for a second.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna go get the article on my phone because the screen is doing weird things. But Goldie Gamari, she put out that tweet after she was ejected from caucus that said, when one window closes, another door opens, or something like that. With iPolitics, Marcos Vigliotti, who's the editor-in-chief, he has an article that has the title, Gomari says she's considering next steps after removal from PC caucus. So it says that she's taken some time to consider next steps, but maintains committed to supporting, quote, conservative policies in her first public statement since she was ejected from the caucus. Sorry, excuse me.
So it happens.
Sorry.
We all have those moments. Myself especially. I have them all the time. I get like that, I'm old. You're still muted, sir. Can't hear you.
I guess I was too good with the cough. Sorry, that one snuck up on me.
It happens.
And it was loud too, so I'm glad I was able to get the cough button because I think I might have popped your ears there. The Carleton MPP said in a post on X on Tuesday that she was, quote, disappointed with Premier Doug Ford's unilateral decision to remove her from the party ranks, which came after Gomari shared a screenshot of herself talking with Tommy Robinson, a notorious far-right anti-Islamic activist who founded the English Defence League. Not sure I would call the decision unilateral. I mean, it is his to make, but I mean, I guess technically it's unilateral, but that's usually not the way we mean that word. And why would you be disappointed? Well, yeah, I guess if your personal Overton window is like not filing your documents to maintain your professional credentials,
right,
is a smart move, then yeah, I guess you would be disappointed. But yeah, in the real world, this is not a thing about which you should be disappointed. You kind of brought it on yourself. And you could reasonably expect this would be the outcome from having chosen to engage in the behaviors in which you engaged. This is just a natural flowing consequence. You cannot make time for a phone call from a convicted felon who's in the country illegally, then misrepresented as him sharing expertise as the IGRC.
Yeah.
And not expect, especially after you were given a chance. Because Doug Ford's first instinct was, okay, you removed the tweet about you having a call with him. So we'll make it go away. And then we got conflicting stories.
Yeah, well, she's...
I didn't end up clarifying very much.
I think in the court of public opinion, people have made up their minds.
Yeah. So not sure why you would be disappointed, Boo Boo Kitty.
You brought it upon yourself.
Yeah. Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yexley Lennon, said online that he had been arrested in Calgary over an outstanding immigration warrant. He's already been convicted of assault and other offenses in the United Kingdom. Faced with backlash from the Post, Gomari said she was unfamiliar with Robinson and only met with him, quote, because I am an Iranian-Canadian immigrant who has been speaking out on behalf of human rights violations. Ford removed her from caucus on Friday, saying it was because of repeated instances of serious lapses in judgment and a failure to collaborate constructively with caucus leadership and as a team member. Of course, all the serious lapses of judgment prior to that still got her put in the position of the chair of the Standing Committee on Justice. But this one was the one that made the glass flow over. Yeah, no, we're not buying that, Doug. Gomari waited until Tuesday to release a fulsome statement on her removal, defending her advocacy to have Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps designated as a terrorist group, which it is, and which it was at the time she took his call. So if that was her goal, she didn't need to do it anymore because she got what she wanted, but I guess she couldn't take yes for an answer. Just saying. She was far more reserved on her political future, saying that she was considering her next steps. Quote, I do not know yet what the future holds for me, but I'm feeling very hopeful and optimistic, she posted, adding, when one door closes, another opens, which is why I'm wondering if she might not be running soon for a party at another level, either Conservatives or who knows, she might go full PPC. Right? Gamari has represented the suburban Ottawa riding of Carleton since 2018. Her ejection leaves only one PC MPP in Ottawa, Nepean's Lisa MacLeod. The meeting with Tommy Robinson wasn't the first time Gamari's position in caucus came under fire. She also faced calls for her removal from the PC caucus because of posts she made on social media that the National Council of Canadian Muslims said, quote, recycled some of the worst Islamophobic fear-mongering by saying that the Muslim prayer Allahu Akbar could be considered a safety concern, in a message posted to X on November 7th. But for the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, Gamari is a, quote, vocal advocate. They say she, quote, demonstrated leadership in denouncing the horrific surge in anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hatred on the streets of Canada since October 7th. That might be true, Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs. But she also took the call of a convicted felon. You shouldn't want everybody on your team. Just because she's wearing your team jersey doesn't mean you have to say that she's on your team. Clearly, she lacks discernment and judgment. The fact that she got that one thing right doesn't mean that you should be calling her a vocal advocate. Look what your vocal advocate did. Not a good look. A PC insider who asked to remain anonymous to speak freely told QP Briefing that despite Gamari not being necessarily unpopular within the caucus, the decision of evicting a member doesn't come exclusively from the Premier, meaning that the caucus needs to support it. Quote, the Premier would obviously weigh considerations of how big her mistakes were and what kind of impact it had on the caucus and whether or not the broader caucus felt the source said. Well, but she seems... So this could either be when she says, I don't know yet what the future holds for me, but I'm feeling very hopeful and optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the... Let's put it this way. Goldie Gamari says a lot of things.
Yes.
So this could just be something she's saying, or, as I keep on asking, how is it that Tommy Robinson knew to take her call? Or how is it that she knew to take his call?
Yeah. Well,
so
that's a pretty good question, actually.
Hey, listen. I think you and I and both Goldie know, even though she's not saying, he isn't actually the world's foremost authority on the IGRC.
No.
Or IRGC, sorry. So, that she needed to create a reason for which they were on that phone conversation. And then he just straight up said, I wanted to date her. I mean, we know she's lying. Because they weren't talking about you don't go to him for IRGC expertise. So, because literally it's like, I hate the IRGC. I hate them too. Let's talk. Is usually not... Sorry. Let me put this way again. I am supposed to represent Ontarians, and I hate the IRGC. I'm some convicted felon from the UK who just happens to be in town, and I hate the IRGC too. And as an MPP, I make time for that.
Mm-hmm.
Two people not liking the IRGC is not enough to have a meeting.
I don't
in an
think
official
so.
capacity as a representative of the people. So we know she's lying. The point is, we don't know if he's lying, because they could both be lying. Maybe the meeting didn't go well, wanted to cause trouble. Or maybe he did ask her on a date and she turned him down. So he went public with it, because he knew it would cause trouble. Or maybe he just wanted to cause trouble. Or maybe he is telling the truth. Because as we know, he was pretty hard up once he arrived in the country.
Well, yeah.
He was looking for dates. Skippy air quotes. So, yeah. Interesting. So, we'll see where, but that's, if it's a meeting where, he on behalf of Ezra and Max and whatnot offered her a nomination somewhere. Federally.
Could be.
Because, she... she was a lawyer until she was not, and then she got suspended. So then she went into politics, and then she kind of did some she did stupid stuff as a lawyer. Then she did stupid stuff as a politician to get herself put out of caucus. So if past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior, she just moves on off to the next territory where people don't know her as well, and she can try it again until she implodes again.
Could very well be the case.
And usually that's another level of government.
Yeah. I've got a story sent to me by Tavi G. Thank you, Tavi. This one is pretty interesting, from the city of Ottawa. Earlier this year, Premier Doug Ford and Mayor Mark Sutcliffe announced a new deal for Ottawa, in quotes, that came with $543 million in announced funding, mostly for roads, highways, and police. Unbeknownst to many, however, the agreement also involved long-term care homes that were only known to the public later. For instance, citizen journalist Elizabeth Payne reported that the agreement had cleared the path for private long-term care development in Ottawa. In March, Ottawa Council approved a report that would see the Ottawa Hospital charged $12.9 million if it allowed Schlegel Villages, Schlegel, Schlegel, I guess, Schlegel Villages to build private long-term care homes on hospital land that was formerly owned by the city, as the land was intended for public long-term care homes. Schlegel Village is notably one of the long-term care corporations involved in a lawsuit seeking $110 million for negligence during the pandemic. Under the company's own watch, 63 patients died in a Windsor home. The original agreement also said that the city could take back ownership of the land if it wasn't used for public long-term care purposes. However, under the recent deal, as the Citizen article explains, the right to compensation has been transferred entirely to the province, which could then choose to prioritize private for-profit healthcare without consequence, as it has many times before. Mr. Mayor, you have some explaining to do. I do not like this. I do not like this one bit.
Nope. That's, I think we had talked about it a little bit, because the premier was here, and he said that he was sleeping in the mayor's basement when he was in town.
Yeah.
He made jokes about like how the families have gotten all very close as a result of that, and yeah. Yeah, I don't like that either.
Somebody's getting a big payday.
I don't like that one. Yeah, you're right. I don't like that one bit.
Somebody's getting a kickback, I guarantee you.
We need the greasy sound effect there for that one.
Let's see, is it this one? No.
Nope. There we go.
Greasy. That's what it is.
Yeah, all right, kids and cubs. A couple little tidbits here for you before we go. My word, I swear to God, this screen is doing weird stuff. There we go. I found the quotes that I was looking for with regard to Hurricane Beryl. It was, who was it from the Claire Nullis, a spokesperson from the World Meteorological Organization, said, quote, "We need to bear in mind that it only takes one landfalling hurricane to set back decades of development, and even if some islands manage to dodge the storm, there could be plenty more to come. It sets a precedent, the Beryl's strength and early arrival, our warnings for the coming months. It sets a precedent for what we fear is going to be a very, very, very active and very, very dangerous hurricane season." So there you go. When it hits Jamaica, they are expecting the waves to be 2.5 meters higher than normal tide levels. So, yes. So, again, if you have any chance to prepare, please do it. Do not mess around with this. Other tidbit of news, it seems that the armed forces are going to tighten up some of the rules on grooming. The standards were relaxed about 2 years ago, but the decision wasn't popular with everyone. General Wayne Eyre, who is soon going to be retiring as the top military commander, and I don't have her name off the top of my head, but the new one has been named, and we have the first female.
Correct.
chief of defense staff that will be coming into office, and hopefully we'll be able to give that more time, the time it actually warrants, because this is historical. But in this case here, he said that he has championed the relaxed rules, but he says that you know, people from the new generation are more at ease with it, and but doing this type of stuff is sort of heading into the unknown for them. So you have to be willing to experiment.
Yes.
So those relaxed rules were introduced in September of 2022, and they're now revised. So now the length of beards for those in uniform will be restricted to 2.5 centimeters, and hair for both men and women must be tied back away from the face and off the collar. So, I mean, they don't seem to be that big of change.
Well, something I had
more like a
noticed.
minor adjustment.
Something I had noticed was during Ottawa's first home game, Ottawa Red Blacks' first home game, they had a sergeant came out and sang the national anthem, and he was Air Force because he was in the Air Force uniform. And I noticed he had both ears pierced, and he had his earrings in uniform, which that was new to me. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
because I know you can have your ears pierced. You're not supposed to wear them when you're in uniform. But I guess that's all changed. I was surprised at that.
Yeah, I had seen that out of uniform about a year or two ago when my Beaver sweetie was teaching at RMC, and they had the Christmas event, and there's some bowling lanes on the campus. So we were there, and so people were out of uniform. But I saw a couple of people with earrings, and I thought, well, when did that change?
That was,
that was even out of uniform, because I know there are rules. I don't know if that changed too, but I think if you were a cadet or whatnot, if you were out in the street but not in uniform, just mingling with society, you couldn't be wearing jeans, for example.
Oh, I don't know that.
You had to be dressed in like khakis and or something. There was a
never heard
standard.
that.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's true.
I've never heard that one before. It's possible, but I've never heard of that. Hugh might be able to answer. I mean, he would know better than us. I have a headline for you here.
Hold on.
Misleading.
Hold on, not done with this part yet, though.
No, keep going. I'm just letting you know. That's all.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. A person named Charlotte Duval-Antoine, who's a defense researcher specializing in social issues, said that the split within the military is evident. And an internal survey obtained by CBC News, it showed that 44% didn't like the changes that came into effect 2 years ago and felt that the relaxed grooming standards reflected poorly on the forces. Charlotte Duval-Antoine says, "I'm not surprised seeing this. We know that demographically most service members are conservative members of the Army, whereas non-commissioned members, Let me try that again. I'm not surprised seeing this. We know that demographically most service members are conservatives. Members of the Army, non-commissioned members, and men are generally less supportive of the relaxed standards. However, women and 2S LGBTQ plus members say allowing individuality makes them feel more proud to serve." So when the relaxed rules first came into effect, of course, the military was at the height of sexual misconduct crisis.
Right.
And Duval-Antoine says that the social atmosphere at the time contributed to cynicism about the motivation behind the changes. So she said, when you see dress regulation changes of that scale happening at the time that it happened, it's hard not to believe that this happened because of the political and social context outside of the military. Not so according to a senior officer on the inside, when changes to the grooming regulations were first considered 6 years ago. Retired Regular General Scott Clancy said that the revision should not be seen as walking back of changes almost introduced 2 years ago. He says, quote, "The Canadian Forces is still getting a sense of who it is culturally." Now, with regard to our allies, most of them ended the debate over beards years ago. They are allowed as long as they are trimmed. For hair, it's a different story, though. Most of our allies insist that troops are as clean cut as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Canada has long made religious and cultural exceptions to those grooming standards.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's long-standing.
Yeah, that's a long-standing thing. So there is that, and I think that's about all the time that we have for stuff today. Just a thing, though. However, a Manhattan Appeals Court has disbarred former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani for repeating Donald Trump's lies about fraud in the 2020 election. The court wrote that the former federal prosecutor and Trump lawyer repeatedly and intentionally made false statements that, quote, baselessly attacked and undermined the integrity of this country's electoral process. Giuliani claimed in court that he didn't know the statements he was making at the time were not true. Uh-huh. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
Yes, I just have a headline for you that I want to share because it's very misleading. It doesn't tell you the whole story.
Okay.
And I'll show you the headline, and then I'll show you more to go with it. So here's the headline, because you know I'll be in Calgary on Friday.
Yes.
This is Trudeau no longer going to Calgary Stampede, as some Liberal MPs call for his resignation, or at least a meeting.
This is the first time he will miss it, except for COVID-19 years.
Correct. Except what they didn't tell you in that headline is that he's attending a NATO leaders summit in Washington next week.
Oh.
A little more pressing than the Calgary Stampede.
And NATO has a new Secretary General.
Exactly.
As well.
To heck
so
with all
you
these.
think
US
you would want to be
9/11
there for the
media
first
rights.
time?
Yeah. So it's misleading. Once again, Canadian media failed.
He wasn't in Ottawa for Canada Day. How terrible! Because he was at the internment of the unknown soldier, marketing the events of Beaumont Hamel.
Yeah.
Yes, and now he's not going to the Stampede. He's failing us. He just freaking built you a pipeline, and he's going to
Can't win, no matter what he does.
No
matter what he does, they refuse to give him a win on anything.
But see, these are lies by sins of omission.
Yes,
strategically omitting information to make things look different than what they are, but it's still lying.
Yeah,
strategic editing, sins of omission are the same as lying. All right,
it pisses me off to know.
Me too.
Tell the whole damn story. Stop printing misleading headlines and lying to people, because when you leave out the part of the story that you should be telling, when you leave that out, you're lying to people by omission.
If you're looking at this thing, right? It's like Trudeau is going to the NATO Leader Summit. Trudeau is not going to the Stampede. Which is the actual headline here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They want to change people's perception. He doesn't feel the Stampede's important enough. Okay.
Yeah, I know. That's why you bang your head against a brick wall. It feels so good when you stop. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless, so please tell your peeps and poops all about us. If you would like to not miss an episode, you do not have to, thanks to the Ray Girl, because she has sponsored our pod page. podpage.com/TheTrueNorthEagerBeaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. That's where you go if you want to go and click subscribe to make sure that when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. And if you would like to help us, thank you very much. Oh, thank you, Kit T. Wigmore. Like that headline analysis more, please. Thank you. Very kind. Very kind. Yes. Indeed, feel bad for Justin. Work makes him have to miss the Stampede. Ah, shucks. Well, let's put it this way. At the Stampede, he is more likely to meet a whole bunch of people who actually do like him.
Well, yeah, because last year he was swarmed. They're like, oh, they scared him out of Alberta. That's why he's not going, because he's a coward. No, did you not see the people who were loving him last year?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Nice try.
I can't believe that there are 300 people in the country who still want to vote for Justin Trudeau. I remember those tweets too. Oh, man. Oh, geez. All right. If also you would like to help us make like Kit Elaine, who writes, have a beyond awesome day, everyone. And remember to smash the button before you leave. And you do that at our True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube site, which not quite at 4,000 yet when we started the show, but we're just so close. So thank you so much. And there's the QR code to scan if you're watching to bring you to our pod page. If you would like to To help us in other ways, please go to our coffee page, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters all in one word, or you scan that QR code that just appeared by Mr. Grizzly's head. And if you would like to leave us a couple of toonies or loonies to support us, because you like what we do and you want to encourage us to do more, we would be very, very grateful for that. Thank you so much for all your generosity and all that you do for us. Because democracy is something that you do. If you live in Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, or the province of British Columbia, you have a provincial election coming up, so get ready for that. If you can help either with the election itself, in terms of volunteering at a polling station, or with your candidate of choice, please do so. It's always better to be involved if you can. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying it can be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom for our kids and cubs today?
Yeah, take care of your physical health and your mental health will follow.
All right, and we have Kit Cassie that says, spread some smiles today, everyone. Kindness revolution. And such wonderful, wonderful compliments from the kids here today. Thank you so very much. But Mr. Grizzly, I think it is time to cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Hey kids, just before we go, a quick little note. Next week, we're going to have an episode for you that I think you're going to enjoy. We have confirmed that we have an interview with CBC sportscaster Devin Haru before he is off to the Olympics. So we will be recording it next Monday evening and presenting it to you sometime next week. So, we're going to get to do some cheerleading.
You got to give me a heads up on this because I won't be in town, remember?
Oh, that's
I'm
true.
in Calgary.
Okay, well, I did send it to you yesterday, but yeah, you were out of it.
I didn't look at anything
Yes.
computer related yesterday.
Yes.
All righty. I got to go. I got to get to work. I'll see you later.